Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. We're looking at the disciples this week. We're looking at how Jesus reacted to people and the people that was around him. And I thought in order for us to kind of look at the disciples, it'd be good to kind of know something about them. And they're listed in Mark 3, and I'm going through the list, trying to do about 3 a day. The next 3 on the list, we have Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew, or you may hear his name is Nathaniel. Nathaniel is his Greek name. We'll start with Andrew. What we know most about Andrew is that he's Simon Peter's brother. I wonder if he liked to be known as Simon Peter's brother. But from what we can see, Andrew was the first disciple called. He's the first one Jesus called. And he's the first one listed. And so the first thing Andrew does is go and tell his brother, Simon at the time, which will later become Peter, we found the Messiah. And he goes and tells him, and he brings his brother to Jesus. Now, like I said, we don't have a lot about Andrew. We have another little thing I'll mention here in a minute. But if Andrew hadn't have done, if he hadn't followed Jesus, if he hadn't went and gotten Peter, man, how, because Peter was such a big part of what happened in the kingdom of God after the resurrection. And he became one of the leaders of the church. And But that's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times there's very silent, quiet people who do some pretty good things, and they may do it through other people. I heard about D.L. Moody's Sunday school teacher. D.L. Moody, at the age of 19, started attending a man's Sunday school class. He was just a good man, but he was very shy, but he enjoyed teaching young men Sunday school. But he realized that D.L. was not a Christian, so he decided to go visit D.L. at where he sewed shoes. And he decided to go visit him there where he was working. And he was real nervous about it. He was scared. He didn't want to embarrass DL. He didn't want to have the other clerks make fun of him when he was doing that. But he decided he would go in. And he said very weakly he witnessed to DL Moody about how to become a Christian. And DL receives Christ. And of course the rest is history. DL goes on to win thousands upon thousands of people, both in America and over in England and Europe. He starts Moody Bible College, which has trained thousands upon thousands of young men and women for ministry, all because a Sunday school teacher brought one of his young men to Christ. That's the way we're to be doing. We live our lives quietly, just telling others how to become Christians. And that's how really God's way for us to do it. We're to share one person at a time. We like having these crusades or having big church services and all, but really the best way to win people to Christ is just one-on-one, one person sharing Christ all the time. That's what Andrew did with his brother. We find Andrew at another time. There's some Greeks who come and they want to see Jesus. Now, they're not Jews. And they go to Philip and may know Philip. But Philip doesn't know what to do, so he goes and talks to Andrew. And Andrew says, okay, I'll go with you, and let's just take them to Jesus. They want to see Jesus, let's let them see Jesus. So that's what he did. And that famous passage, sirs, we would see Jesus. And Philip goes, well, I don't know if he's going to see non-Jews or not. And so he needed to get another opinion, and the person he went to was Andrew. I think that speaks very well that he would do that. Another time we find Andrew in the Bible is at the feeding of the 5,000. They've met, Jesus has been teaching all day, and it's getting late, it's time to eat. The disciples say, Lord, you need to send these people away so I can get something to eat. They've been here all day, haven't eaten. And Jesus says, you feed them. And Andrew says, well, all we can find is that there's one little boy with a couple fish and some loaves here. But he had discovered that. So I find that interesting about Andrew. So I encourage us to be Andrews, maybe live quiet lives, bringing others to Christ. And then there's Philip. How would you describe Philip? I describe him as kind of a bean counter. He's kind of the accountant type. When they were at the feeding of 5,000, it was Philip when Jesus said, okay, you guys feed them. And Philip goes, hey, it would take about a year's wages to feed all these people, and we don't have near that. And so he's kind of somebody who's counting time, always kind of keeping track of what things cost, what things would be. And, you know, I've always found in churches it's good to have those kind of folks around. And Philip was that for the disciples. The disciples were a very diverse group. And so he was that way. But the other thing about Philip is he apparently was a very good Old Testament scholar. Because the next guy on the list, Bartholomew, or it may be Nathaniel, whichever translation you have, because like they both names, one's Hebrew name, one's Greek name. But he goes to his friend, Bartholomew. And he says, I think I found the Messiah. And even though these guys are from a small town, Cana, they have read the Old Testament and they've studied it. And from what I understand, when I have traveled over the Holy Land, that would not be atypical for the folks in Galilee. They had synagogues. They didn't worship much in Galilee, but they studied. And they decided if they needed to pray, they'd go to Jerusalem, which is several days' walk. But they studied. They studied that Old Testament. And Philip and Bartholomew had studied it, and they had been part of that. And so Bartholomew, when he was told about Jesus, he's the one that said, and told that Jesus was from Nazareth. He says, does anything good come from Nazareth? In other words, I don't see anything in the Old Testament that would bring Jesus that. And Philip said, the one Moses talked about in the Torah and the prophets talked about, I found him. And I think that's some good things about Philip and Bartholomew is that they are students of the Bible, students of the Torah, or the first 5 books of the Bible, the students of the prophets. They knew what it said. And Bartholomew knew that the Messiah wasn't to come from Nazareth, this would come from Bethlehem, according to Micah. What Bartholomew didn't know at the time is that Jesus had been born in Bethlehem. And so they do that. So there's some things I think we can learn from these disciples. One, just to live a quiet life and bring others to Christ, as Andrew did with Peter, and then also Philip did with his friend Bartholomew. And then the other is to read the scriptures, to know what it says. And both those guys had done that. Well, that'll be for these 3 today. We'll do 3 more tomorrow. And I hope you have a blessed day. Blessings upon you.